Now we appear to possibly be starting to approach something that we may begin to call normal. We seek people's thoughts about how we're going to do business in this new landscape. What are the challenges, opportunities, and how they're feeling about their industries. Today we're speaking to Nick Foote, Director and Owner of BWW Communications.
COVID-19 has affected everything. It is a massive challenge. It's affected the way we work, the way we live. I think we're going to have how we balance the risk of the virus against the mental health problems. I think when you look at it, if 6 months ago I'd said the word social distancing to you, that would have sounded like something to be avoided. That would have sounded like social isolation, and yeah, as a negative. But now, of course, we're all afraid to shake each other's hand, and with good reason. But it has meant there's a hell of a strain on everything. I think that we are at a new normal. I think that is far from normal, but the great thing about human beings is our great skill. We don't run fast, we haven't got great sight or hearing, but what we are is ultimately incredibly flexible and adaptable. And so we've adapted. We've adapted to COVID. We've adapted to we've taken on, learned new skills. We've learned how to work at home if we didn't before. We've learned how to not see colleagues and yet still remain in touch with them. And that's been, I mean, there's some very difficult things that I still think have to address, including how you build trust when you don't meet face to face. And I think that is something that no amount of virtual technology can help. But we are adapting to the situation. We have to adapt to the situation. The electronics industry has dealt with the challenges of COVID pretty well, really. And one of the reasons that it has is because electronics is at the heart of every new technology. Artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, 5G, electric vehicles, smart home, smart factory, whatever is the latest buzzword, whatever is the latest launching technology is underpinned. Electronics underpins it. So electronics people are very used anyway to, people are always asking what's new. From my point of view, the publicity machine never stopped. As I say, it went quiet perhaps for a month. A couple of clients went quiet for the first 3 months of the lockdown, but then they had to work out ways to keep their business going. So they found yeah, they're back doing publicity. Most of our clients never stopped doing publicity. I have never been a fan of virtual events, mostly because I think that the software has been clunky. I think it's something where the format has almost been forced onto the application. They don't seem to be a natural fit. However, I have to say that since lockdown, since we cannot go to Electronica, since we cannot go to PC, or maybe we will go to Electronica, so I'll take that one back. That one is still on the table. But I mean, we weren't. My clients couldn't go to PCIM or APEC or these trade shows. Embedded World did go ahead, but it was much reduced. So basically, people have had to find ways to do new things, and I must say that I think some of the virtual events have been quite successful. I think what you have to look at and say, you cannot do everything with a virtual event that you can do with a physical event. However, the same is true in reverse. There are things you can do with a virtual event that you cannot do with a physical event. And also, let's cut to the chase. virtual events are so much cheaper than the physical events. So whereas, you know, a basic stand, a basic reasonable size stand at Electronic is going to cost you $100,000 without any bother, and probably more. And then that's a pretty basic stand. Many companies spend well over $1 million, over $2 million. When you work with one of the, when you're doing one of the virtual events, you know, a lot of the packages start at $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 will get you an extraordinary amount of coverage. Plus, you don't have to send your folks traveling, and you don't have to pay their hotel bills, and you don't have to pay their bar bills, which in my case is a huge plus. So I think virtual events do have their place, and I think virtual events will continue in the mix. I think their time has come. I think having unleashed the genie, if you like, people have got much better at how they do virtual events. They're not the clunky events that they were. People have got used to them, and you know, I think you have to balance the risks of the virus with the risks of mental health. And the risks of the virus are absolute and very real, but so is the mental health aspects. And I do think that there needs to be a balance on that. You know, when COVID first started, it was a novelty. We plugged in and we connect up to the Wi-Fi at home with our laptop. We sat in our favorite chair and we worked. And then maybe, you know, we need a bit more room, so we sat around at the kitchen or the dining room table. All this is fine, but then what the problem that you then come into is that you're impinging so much on your private and personal life, and not just your own, but also your family. So when there isn't anything to go and do in the evening, why not carry on working? So I think you do need to leave and have a cut down. I am pretty optimistic about the electronics industry. I think partly that is because I'm an optimistic person anyway. But I think that, as I said, electronics underpins every technological advance we've got. So that means that the companies that I represent, the companies that Electronics Weekly writes about all the time, you know, they need to continue to do business, but they are a necessary part of how we're going to get through this. You know, what underpins a Zoom call? What underpins, you know, a smart mobile, you know, which we're using to record this interview on? It's electronics. It's developments in the electronics industry. So I think we have to remain optimistic. We have to find ways to continue to do business. I think we have effectively shut down for 6 months. I think I think socially we're going to have to shut down for a lot longer, basically until we have a vaccine. It seems to me, and I'm reminded of the Carole King song, "It Might As Well Rain Until September." Sometimes I think it might as well rain until 2021 or whenever we have a vaccine. But from a business point of view, we have to continue. We have to find ways of making this work, and the best way to do that is to at least approach it with if a smile's difficult, then a wry grin at least is a good thing to maintain.